Today will very much be focused on some practical tips for you. There's absolutely going to be a bunch of actionable stuff that you'll be able to take away and use. So there'll be a bunch of content around that. And then at the end, as well as lots of time for Q&A, which you can either save your questions, or if you want to put them in the chat while you think about it, the lovely Megan, who's here, will be collating them and she'll fire them to me at the end. So feel free what you want to do with that. Equally, put your hand up and shout. If there's something that's fundamentally blocking you from moving on, then I don't want that. So please jump in. But also at the end, as much as I'll give you a bunch of stuff today, I'll just take 2 minutes to talk about how, if you do want further support with this stuff, how you can work with me. But I promise you that'll be a couple of minutes only, and hopefully I've earned the right to do that by giving you a whole bunch of useful stuff in advance of that. So on with the show. 84% of B2B decision makers say that the buying process starts with a referral. And once you've got those businesses in, they typically spend more. And not only do they spend more, but I don't think this stat takes into the fact that they normally pass on more referrals as well. So referred customers is absolutely the ideal one. And this is the huge one for me, that 86% more revenue growth for people that had formalized referral partners in. And I think what it does is it really kind of shows you that gives some real credence to that well-known saying that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And word of mouth and referrals, if you think about it, is the oldest form of marketing. Before the days of Facebook ads and PPC, before the days of the written word even, word of mouth and referrals is the oldest form of marketing. And for most businesses, as those stats prove, still the most successful. And it's one that we can all leverage because it just relies on us having our credibility in our network. And yet so few business owners dedicate their time or their money or their investment in having a real strategy behind this piece. So much so, in fact, that of the survey that those previous stats came from, only 30% of companies actually had a formalized referral program. So first bit of interaction, please. Shows of hands or yeses in the chat box, whatever you wish. How many people here are asking for referrals regularly? Oh, okay, we're getting a couple of hands up, a couple of iffies. And how many of those people that were kind of, maybe have a proper formalized process behind it? Okay, fewer again, okay. And how many of you, outside of referrals, which can come from anyone and everyone, how many of you would say you think you have partners in place? So these are people where there's some kind of relationship to pass leads consistently. So you've got Martin, that's not surprised from seeing your recent LinkedIn activity. Okay, so a few there. Brilliant. Okay, so it just gives me some context of the room. I mentioned referrals and partners there. So one thing I do want to cover first is where I make the distinction. So referrals can come from anyone and everyone. It's your clients, your customers, your network, which are great, but the quantity and the quality can vary. It's kind of a little bit more ad hoc. With referral partners, it's about working with businesses that are referring your ideal customers at the ideal time on a consistent basis. So it's people that have got a vested interest in doing this and that have the ability and the wherewithal to do it on a consistent level. So it becomes a scalable, repeatable channel that you can put in. A lot of people see referrals almost as kind of bonus leads when they drop in, and partners is about moving it from that into this proper channel in your business. But to be able to do that, there's word strategic referral partners. In order to have a strategic referral partner, you need to have a strategy, and that's what we're going to look at today. Is my 5 steps. Before we do that, very briefly, for those of you I've not had the pleasure of meeting before, I'll give you a very quick overview as to why it is that I talk about this stuff. So that's me. He's a cute kid. In the corner there, you'll see an organization called Business Scene. That was a membership organization that I run, and we grew that to a couple of thousand members, almost entirely through referral partners and customer referrals. You'll see a bunch of other brands there where I was responsible for providing leads to them. So I've had hundreds of partnerships, delivered tens of thousands of leads in my time to other big brands. And all the work that I do now, which is working with clients to give them the right strategies and skills to implement partner programs themselves, have been based on that lived experience of providing leads to others, and yes, having some successes, but also the mistakes either made or witnessed along the way, kind of flip those on their head. So it's all based on lived practical experience working with some of these brands that you see. And now working with brands, as I said, just like you, to develop really rock solid strategies and skill sets around partnerships. So my 5 steps are all based around my dance framework. That's the 5 steps. That's the strategy behind it. The first one is about discovery, who your ideal partners are and why they want to work with you. We then look at assembly, which is all the systems that you need in order to deliver a consistent level of trust. We then move on to nurturing. Nurturing is all the communication you have with your partners to form those rock solid relationships so they don't go anywhere else. Absolutely vital. We then have connection, which is all about how you help your partners connect you to their audience. And that's a vital piece in the machine that people don't often miss out. And finally is engagement. How do you actually go out there and get those partners? So once you've got all 5 of those, then you're really ready to rock and roll. So has everyone got their dancing shoes on? Are we ready to kick off with the first of the 5 steps? Yes, okay, I'm getting some nods and at least a smile. So I just want to make one last point actually before we really dive into this. There is an underlying theme across all of this, which is about making it easy for your partners, doing the hard work for them. Hands up here who has loads of spare time at the moment. Yeah, I didn't think I'd get a lot of one on that one. We are all busy people at the moment. So are your partners, which means we're lazy. And I don't mean Netflix lazy, binging on whatever recent series you want to get through. I'm talking about if something isn't part of our day-to-day core activity, unless it's easy for us to do it, no matter how much we want to do it, we won't. It gets put on that metaphorical pile of I'll get round to it, and it only really gets looked at again when it gets swept off to start a new pile of that stuff, because you just don't get round to it. So if you want someone to do something out of the ordinary for them, you need to make it really, really easy for them to do that, both mentally and practically. And so there'll be a common theme that will run through these 5 steps as we go through, which is all about you doing the hard work so your partners don't have to. So first up, we have discovery. So discovery is all about understanding who your ideal partner is. It's very easy to go out there and have lots of wonderful conversations that don't actually go anywhere. And it's not saying that we don't, when we identify our ideal partner, much like when we identify an ideal client, it's not saying that we don't partner with anyone else. But if we have a clear idea of who our ideal partner is, well, then we're able to attract them to work with us much, much easier. And the other people that come around will only drop into our ecosystem if they close enough fit all the other kind of pieces around the edge. So it's really important to have that clear understanding of who your ideal partner is. The first way about getting this is about being specific. And I like to use the word targeted and specific and segment other than the word niche, because that you get typically with niching, you get half the people who are all in on it, and then half the people that recoil in horror at the thought of having to lessen their opportunity kind of radius by niching down. The thing is, when you work with a partner, when you're looking to form partnerships, the more targeted you can be, either in who you're looking to work with or a specific skill set that you have, and narrowing that down, the more targeted you are on that, the easier it is for you to demonstrate and explain value, which enables you to build trust with that partner much, much quicker. It means there's less likely for conflict. It allows you to just be much more targeted. And so what I always say to people when they do have a broader either client base or offering is to think about, where do you really, really want more business? Where do you really want to do more work? What do you really enjoy doing at great margins? So for Holly, it might be people who genuinely say that their website's shit, because you go, well, I can help them and they match my personality type. And all right, that's still broad, but there's still probably sectors within that. And it's about going, what work do I love doing? Because if you're going to form partnerships, then let's make sure they're delivering the leads that we want. And so, look, this isn't a niching workshop, but it's really clear to have that specific piece, because without that, you can't do the most important thing. And if you take one thing away from this, the rest of this workshop, take away this, is you need to have a crystal clear partner value proposition. And what this is the reason why the partner would want to work with you. And it's all about, yes, thinking about the value that you add to the end client, but focusing on why that's important to the partner. Because when you talk about all the wonderful things you can do for someone's client, what you're saying, even if you don't mean it, is, can I sell to your clients, please? And no one wants to just open up their list, right? It's a barrier, and it's what everyone else does when they're sending their messages out. If you can focus on why that value is, why that thing that you do for the client adds value to the partner, and focus on that, then it's just a whole different approach. And I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail for you. So an ideal partner for you isn't just someone who shares the same audience. They need to be having congruent conversations, and they also need to be of the right level that their referral means something. The other bit is a vested interest in doing so. So there will be people out there where your product or service directly or indirectly enhances someone else's product or service. Typically either because it's integrated, or it comes directly before or after your partner's product or service in kind of in that journey along. Let me give you a few examples for this. A meeting I had this morning was with some IT security, data analytics type people, and they're looking at some new partners to set up. And one of the partners that they're looking to work with is people who help people with their ISO accreditation, because there are certain ISO accreditations where you need to have a certain level of security documented and process driven in order to get that. So they're an ideal referral partner for them because they fall along in that chain. Another one would be looking at it. I worked with someone who did they did telemarketing, and their partners they were looking for were people who did inbound search, so SEO and PPC and people like that, inbound lead generation. And the real why for them, why those inbound search people would want to work with them, isn't because the telemarketing agency would give them a bit of commission. It was because for the inbound search company, once they generated leads for their client, they lost all control of those leads. And although their job wasn't to deliver sales, ultimately the leads that they were generating, the success of them would have been based on how well they converted. So for the inbound lead company, referring a really good telemarketing company in meant that the leads were followed up properly, which meant they were more likely to convert to sales, which meant their client was going to be happier, spend more money on future campaigns with them generating more leads. So it's the website builder that refers a really good copywriter, so that the website does its job. It's that thought of who sits either side of you in the buying process, where what you do will really enhance their offering. And if you tap into that value piece, and typically it's around more successful clients, which means they're stickier and refer more and stay longer and invest more. If you tap into that and make that the focus of your approaches, then all these other steps will just drop into place much, much easier. Are we kind of all okay on that partner value proposition piece and how it works and where it's different to just the client value? Yeah, I'm seeing nods. Great. Okay, so once we've got that, we then look at kind of forming our actual partner program. And the first step to that is assembly. So this is all the behind the scenes stuff. And I use the festival analogy as the importance of behind the scenes. So I'm a big music lover, hence the dance and music backgrounds and things. But imagine going to a festival, whatever type of music you like, where it had the best lineup in the world. Just unbelievable. All killer, no filler, right from the start, right to the end. So you arrive at the festival, you're super excited, and it takes you ages to get in. It's an absolute nightmare getting in. When you do get in there, there's only one bar, and the queue's massive because it's understaffed. The bands come on, but they're all in the wrong order, so you miss your favourite one. And the sound system's absolutely rubbish. Now, whatever happens next time round, next year, no matter how good the lineup looks, you're not going back because it was an absolute shambles behind the scenes and it ruined your experience. And the same is true with your partner programs. Getting this stuff right behind the scenes isn't necessarily going to win you partners, but it is going to keep them for you, which is what, I mean, if we're taking the time to form strategic partners, we want them for life. We don't want them as fleeting partners. And there's a couple of things so I mentioned the build trust, but it's also about helping us set up our partnerships so that they're ready to scale. And there's two things that I'm going to kind of cover here. The first one, there's lots within this, but the two that I really want you to make sure that you've got covered is around tracking and tracking of partner leads. So if you're receiving leads in from your partners, it is absolutely vital that you not only track them when they're in the prospect stage, but if they become customers, knowing where and when they are in that journey. Because I've had this where people haven't been able to do that. And when I've asked a partner about where someone is in their journey, they haven't been able to tell me. And there's what, if that's you and a partner asks you that, one of two things happens. They either think you genuinely don't know where someone is in your buying journey, which means you're a bit incompetent, or they think that you haven't registered as their lead and you're trying to pull a fast one on them on any commission that might be due. So you're a bit of a crook. And whether it's crook or incompetent, neither are a good look for you as a potential partner. So this tracking piece is absolutely vital to get down, right? Now, there are lots of unbelievably expensive partnership management softwares out there, and there's some very capable CRMs that will do for most. You can even use a spreadsheet. I often say it's better to have a spreadsheet that you use than a CRM system that you don't. But whatever you do, you absolutely have to have this kind of lead tracking thing in place. And it seems basic, but lots of people don't get it right, believe me. Because when someone does pass you a lead, they're not just giving you a lead, they're giving you a little bit of their reputation to look after. And that's the biggest thing someone can do. So you need to treat that with respect. And so this tracking piece falls in with that. The second thing that I want to cover around this assembly thing in specifics is about lead handling. So most of the time when we kick off a new partner campaign, it won't be as successful as we think it's going to be. We're not going to get those hundreds of leads flying through the door that we planned for. But sometimes we might. And we need to make sure that we're ready to cater for that. Personal story, one of the quite major brands that you saw on that first slide when I said about me, we ran a new campaign for them when I ran my main membership organization. It was for some sales data. And so we knew this was going to be a good campaign. We were going to get happy members, and we were going to put it out to all our prospects as well as a route into them wanting to join membership for us. And we let them know that it was going to be a successful campaign, and they said, yeah, we'll be able to deal with the leads. And we had a little button that you pushed on the email, and it automatically to say, yes, I want to speak to someone about my leads. And that sent a lead back off to them. And there was supposed to be a 2-day turnaround on them getting back to people. And then we were more successful than they thought we were. We were as successful as we thought we were, more successful than they thought we were. And it was taking them 2 weeks to get back to people. So instead of happy members and lots of prospects phoning us up to see how they could join us, we actually got complaints. And which just did the absolute opposite of what your partnership's there for. And while there was a bit of trust there was always that negative feeling kind of about whether they could cope, whether they would listen to us. So with the lead handling side of things, I would always say expect modesty, but plan for overachievement, and then you won't go far wrong, because that whole piece around the leads coming in and the customer experience is the number one thing that will lose trust. Okay, so we know what our partner value proposition is. We know that we've got the systems in place to be able to handle the leads might come in. Next piece is looking at the reward piece, Tom, which is where you came in. Now, this is a very grey area. We could go into this for a long time, and I'm not going to do it for too long, but if people want to ask specific questions on it. With partnerships, I personally would always have a commercial relationship in place, because it's what elevates it from a friendly handshake to, no, we're doing this properly, we're putting some commitment into this. So I like a commercial arrangement in place. If you're talking about casual referrals, very, very, very grey area, depending on people, whether people are extrinsically or intrinsically motivated. If you over push a reward in advance on a referral, then it can turn some people right off, because actually they want to refer you because they know you and they love you. So what it always needs to be is a thank you rather than an incentive. Partnerships, though, as I said, if you want to elevate it from a casual referral thing to a strategic partner, I think a commercial relationship helps with that. Few things to consider in here. Do you want it to be a one-off payment? Is it a percentage of revenue? Is that percentage of revenue for a set period of time or lifetime value? I'm a big fan of lifetime value. I think it keeps it simple, it keeps it rewarded. You can put things in place like while you're an active partner, all that type of stuff. What I will do is there's a link. I did a kind of a 25-minute video on this that goes into stuff in a much more detail. I will get Megan to post a link in the chat that you can look to on that, because it is a bit of a grey area. But I think in a nutshell, Tom, because I know it was you that mentioned it, if it's going to be an ongoing thing, I think the commercial element elevates it. Referrals, much greyer area. If you're working with partners who aren't able to accept commissions, you can do things like put it into a charity pot if that's what you wanted to do. There are ways of still elevating the partnership beyond a friendly handshake. So that's it on the behind the scenes for now. There is so much more, but we've only got a limited amount of time today. So I want to talk about nurturing, which is all around how we build a relationship with our partners. It's how we maximize the opportunity within these partnerships, and it's how we keep them enjoyable. Right? If we're choosing to build this channel out, well, then let's make sure we're enjoying it. I always say, if you're not enjoying it, you're not doing it right. And that's in anything in life. And it's about remembering that there is functional, transactional stuff that we need to do. But at its core, partnerships are based on human relationships. We need to make sure that we're keeping it personal and we're building that relationship out there. And so with that in mind, there are different reasons for communicating, and there are different styles of communicating. So you need to cover the functional stuff, like what's happening with the leads, what's happening with customers, how much commission's due, all the functional stuff that absolutely can be automated and maybe should be automated to save you time. And then you've got the stuff around building the relationship, maximizing the potential within the partnership. And you can't do that via an automated message. That's a personal touch. Now, you might automate the reminder to remind you to pick up the phone and call them, but it's about really getting this blend right of efficient automated stuff that just happens and then building a relationship. There's three key kind of communication nurturing pieces though that I see people either not do or get wrong though, and so they're the three that I want to cover today. First one being about setting expectations. Now, how many of you have had a partnership and then it's just fizzled out, maybe with a little bit of disappointment or resentment in there as well, and you can't quite put your finger on it? Anyone had that experience before? I'm getting a couple of nods or a couple of hands. Yeah, a few hands raised. In almost all instances, that's probably because expectations weren't being set right at the outset. And you want to look at long-term expectations and also the shorter term as well. Right, I've got to try and do this on camera. I thought I'd be used to it by now. Thing is, if at outset let's say you're only 5% out in your long-term vision of where this partnership's going, if you're only 5% out, over time, that kind of 5% out, if you imagine I'm drawing a line, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So the gap gets quite large. And by just being really clear on your expectations at the outset, you'll find that doesn't happen. And so, as well as setting those long-term things in place, because it may be that your partner is intending on bringing your own product or service in-house at some point. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't work with them. It just means that you're fully aware that this is a 2-year partnership. Maybe there's a finite time on it. Maybe you're thinking about going all in on joint ventures and everything else, and they're not quite at that stage. Whatever it is, be clear about it and document these expectations. On the flip side is the short-term expectations and the doing. Who's going to do what and when? And by having that documented, whether it be proactive marketing activity, maybe it's the support that you're going to provide, but the nuts and bolts of how the relationship's going to work, set that out, agree it, document it. Because what happens then is that everyone is, again, it's the same thing as that commission piece, that it elevates it from the friendly handshake of, yeah, let's just see what we'll do, to a no, this is a proper relationship that we're really going to work at and really make sure we make the most of. So by having those things in place, it really does that. And a little thing that I want to add in here is about starting small. It's very easy when we do the long-term objectives to plan out world domination about all the exciting things that are going to happen. And then in the doing and the planning of that, one of the partners gets dragged away because a more urgent thing comes up. And you never really get going. I'm sure you've all had conversations that looked like they were going to get to somewhere, and actually nothing came of them. I'm a big believer in starting small, because once you start doing, you end up keep doing, and it does one of two things. That starting small as well. It does that build of momentum, which is very powerful. But what it also does is just gives you a chance to see what the other person's like to work with. Are they actually as good as they seem during your meetings and everything else? I'm a big believer in starting small. So one of those expectation pieces is, what can we do right now to get going? And when you have those expectations in place, it makes it very easy to have potentially difficult conversations early, because you've got something to measure the success of your partnership with. And actually on that long-term success piece, what does success look like for you, is a question that I absolutely love in pretty much any scenario, but especially powerful in a partnership one. Asking your partner what success looks like for them is a very easy way of seeing if you're on the same page. But the second thing you need to do is keep your partners informed. So this goes without saying, but it links back to that nurturing piece. It links back to the tracking piece, that we spoke about. That if your partners are providing you with leads and running activity with you, keep them in the loop. It's bound to that reputation piece again. Let them know that you're treating their reputation with the respect it deserves. And so many people don't do this piece. And particularly if you've got long lead times or long sales cycles, really important to keep people up to date at the relevant point. And this can be automated stuff. It's things like monthly reports. If you've got a lovely bit of partner software, that means your partners can go and look for themselves at how their leads are progressing. That's great. It's got really high perceived value, telling you now the majority of your partners won't do it. So even if you've got great tech that allows you to do it, still make it easy for them. Do the hard work for them. Do a snapshot of it once a month and send it through to them on the same day that you say you're going to do it every single month. The other piece in there is about having formal reviews. And so many people don't do this. And this ties in with the setting expectations piece. If you're meeting quarterly, online or over the phone or in person, and if those expectations have been managed and set, then it means if you're not there, you can judge the success of a partnership. So it makes having potentially tricky conversations much easier. The other great thing about formal reviews is, even if you're chatting to your partners day to day all the time, there's an extra two really powerful things you can do in a more formal review. One, you can ask if there's anything you can be doing that's better. Now, coming back to that easy thing again, we want everything to just run smooth as silk for our partners. And if by asking what you can do better, it could be there's something that's just a little niggle for them. And it's not enough for them to pick up the phone to you day to day. It could be something that someone in your team's doing, or a report you're sending. But by asking them the question, they will go, oh, you know what, actually, this thing's a little bit annoying, or this could be better, which is wonderful. You want that news because you can fix it. The second thing that I really, really I would ask you and encourage you all to do, is to just be curious. Curiosity is the birthplace of opportunity. And just by finding out what's going on in your partner's world, both in their business and just them in general, you're not only building a relationship more, but almost always there will be an opportunity that comes out of that they hadn't even thought of to do with you, because they're back to that busy point of view. So by being curious and getting them to tell you what's going on in their world, you're making it easy for you to maximize the relationship. They'll talk about, oh, we might be, well, actually, yeah, we're just about to move into this sector or do this expo, and there'll be another way for you to come in and add value. So really important to have that mix of communication styles that both keep your partners up to date on a functional level, but really keep you building that personal relationship. And linked to that, and certainly linked to the opportunity piece, is connection. Now this bit is the bit that really ties all the kind of the other partnership things in together. Pun intended with the trainer picture, by the way. I've tried that every event and it never gets a laugh. So there you go. You're in line with everyone else. But this is all about how you help your partners connect you to their audience. So how many of you, again, and we're back to kind of previous partnership experience, have you had it where everything seems right with the partnership, but just it hasn't delivered on the leads? Yeah, you thought it was going to be great, but they haven't come in. Well, quite often that'll be because you haven't provided enough support. I'll be honest, it's on you, not your partners, in most instances, in my experience. And that's, again, it comes down to that making it easy. And there's two things we can do here to make it really easy for our partners to want to refer us on a consistent basis, or more than one, actively do it. And it comes down to the support we give them. The first one being partner-facing support. So it's essentially sales training for your partners. All the stuff that's in your head about the ideal time to refer you, the triggers, the moments in time when it's ideally easy for you to kind of sell yourself in, the things that your clients often say when they're experiencing the pain that means that your product or service is ideal. All that stuff that you think is common sense, it's not common sense, it's your experience. And so share that experience with your partners. Give them FAQs, give them cheat sheets. If they've got a team, remember that the person you're forming the partnership with might be super switched on and get all this, but that doesn't mean their team is. So what support can you give them? Can you go in and do training sessions? Even better. So it's all about sharing the internal knowledge you've got with your partners and their teams. And if you really want to take this stuff to the next level, it's seeing about where you can build yourself into your partner's processes. So when I work with people, we really kind of identify what the customer journey is of the client with our partners and go, where would our product or service fit in here really nicely? And if you've got the right partners, because you've got your partner value proposition right, they'll want you in their process because they've got a vested interest in referring you consistently. So the first thing is to make sure that you're giving your partners all the support they need in terms of training and your knowledge. And then the second piece is customer facing. So this again maybe links into the being curious part from nurturing. It's where are there opportunities for you to add value to their audience in a way that adds value for the partner as well. And again, get your partner value proposition piece right, and they will want to put you in front of their clients because it makes sense for them to do so because they understand the value behind it. If your partner's got a newsletter that goes out or a podcast or an event or whatever it may be, you sending them regular stuff to go on that, their marketing department will love you as long as it's good quality, because actually essentially you're helping them, they're looking for good different content all the time. And so by you providing with that, you're doing them a favor. What you do want to do though, on that making it easy point, is make sure you send it in a way that's easy for them to copy and paste it into their own stuff. So this used to really, really annoy me. We worked with some big brands, people like Yell with a huge, great marketing team. And all the content they would send us would be as though they were sending it directly out to a list, which meant either me or someone in my team would have to go through and amend it so it sounded like it was coming via us or one of our other partners. And every time you had to do that, it just annoyed us. And it meant that we were more likely to start tweaking the other copy as well. So if you want the best copy, if you want it to go out on time and regularly and unedited, do all the heavy lifting for them, because it's much more likely that they'll actually send that stuff out then. And the other thing that I would say on this side of things is, while I would absolutely have almost like a bank of material that you're used to doing, blogs, posts, social posts, videos, all that stuff, again, be curious, ask them what they're doing. What are you doing at the moment with your customers that adds real value? And they might go, oh, we're doing these drop-in days, or we're running an event, or we're doing this, or we're doing that. Anything like that, find out where you can add value. Ask them. And it's not, as I said, it's not being cheeky. If you've got that value proposition right, they will want to get you in front of their clients at every available opportunity. So we know who we're partnering with and why they want to do it. We're confident in that we've got the systems in place to kind of build and maintain trust. We've got all our partner communication processes in place, all the support's there. Now it's time to go out there and find our partners. And I'm going to come back to being easy here, particularly if you're starting out on your partnership journey. You want easy partners. Your ideal partner for when your partner program is all established isn't your first partner. Your ideal partner first time round is someone you can form a partnership with quickly, and it's someone that you can build a close relationship with quickly, and is maybe going to be a little bit forgiving if things aren't quite as super slick as they are 6, 7, 8, 9 months down the line. So the first thing you want to think about with your engagement piece is who your ideal partner is in like mid to long term, but who's a good partner for me right now. And then once you've got that in your mind, the first thing that's absolutely crucial is remember your partner value proposition. I want to keep coming back to that. Remember to focus on the partner, not the client, because that immediately stands you above others and the messages that they'll be putting out. And the second tip to this one is to use your network. So for most of us, getting started on with our partnership programs, there will be someone either directly in our network who's within our ideal partner profile, or our network will know them. And asking for a referral to a partner is so much easier than asking for a referral to a client, because there's no sell involved. What you're looking for is you're looking for someone to make an introduction because there's this real joint opportunity, because we've got our partner value proposition right. And so people will make those referrals all day long. And what I would say actually on that sales piece is, if you're ever speaking to someone about a partnership and it sounds like you're selling, then stop, because you probably are. You should never have to sell a partnership opportunity if it's a genuine opportunity and you've got your value proposition right. So I know it sounds overly simplistic, but if you leverage the network that you've already got for your early stage partners and build from there as you gain social proof, then it's a really solid foundational way of doing it. And a nice touch for early partners is, if you know someone who's in your partner demographic, is to ask them for feedback. So instead of asking them, oh, would you like to be a partner of mine? You can say to them, I'm building a partner program. You're within my demographic. I'd love your feedback on my program. People like to help. People love to help. And so you'll get one of two things there, potentially both. You'll get some feedback, and if it's not right, well then great, you can work on that. If it is right, well, there's a good chance that they'll want to be a partner. So it's a nice kind of starting point. So, mastering the partnership dance. We need to understand who our ideal partners are and what our partner value proposition is. Have that really strong. We need to have the systems in place to build and maintain trust throughout. Have the communication channels to both deliver on a transactional level, but really build the relationship with our partners so they don't go anywhere else. Give them all the support they need to refer us consistently. Go out there and get our partners. And with that, you should have a successful partnership program. So, very quickly, before we move on to Q&A, I work with people in a couple of ways. The first one being the Kick-Ass Collaboration Program. This is the framework that you've just seen, delivered in a group coaching format online. It's a 6-month program of 2 sessions per month. very much focused on doing. So we do stuff in the sessions. And then the idea of it being 2 sessions per month is that there's plenty of time to implement in between. The partnership program's ready to launch by month 4. So the second couple of months are all about sharing that best practice with other people that are going through the journey. It's £400 per month. We kick off this Thursday, actually. If you wanted to jump on this cohort, which is cohort 1, but can't make Thursday, well, then we've got some kind of some ways around that. But we have cohort 2 kicking off in May. Drop me a line if you're interested in that program. Of course, I also do one-to-one work either with you or in your team, online or in person. That starts at 8:20. Always happy to chat with anyone about that. I think Megan's putting some links in the chat now, which will give you some links to either book a call with me to discuss any of this. But if you'd like to find out more about either of those programs, book a call with me, get access to the recordings, get access to the slides, then the links will be in the chat, or you can kind of scan the QR code here. I will leave that there for a couple of seconds because it's probably easier for you to click the links in the chat anyway. But that's it from me. Thank you for listening. Any questions? Tom, yes. But let me stop.
Dave, first of all, that was beautifully presented and you've talked a ton of sense and it's very, very valuable. So thank you.
My pleasure.
The thing that was kind of, I think, inherent in a lot of what you said, but you didn't sort of make it an expert point, but I'm interested to know what you think about it, is you've talked about, obviously, you know, partners understanding the proposition and working together and collaborating well. There's a third party in all of in most of these situations, though, which is the client.
Yeah.
So what advice have you got for us about how to take what you agree is your valuable partnership and get the end client to understand it and buy into it? Because this is where I find a lot of the devil is in the detail.
Yeah, so this comes down to your general marketing, actually, Tom, which I know is kind of your bag. Like, because if your prospects don't understand what you do, well, then I'd suggest that you solve that problem before you solve your partnership problem. If I'm going to be really blunt about it, then that's probably number one. Like, is to make sure that you've got that value proposition really clear. Yep. In terms of then. And I don't mean that to sound flippantly, but like kind of so first of all, you need to be very clear about the value you're delivering to someone, to your clients. But you need to have that in place to get the partner value proposition strong anyway. But I think it comes down to that connection piece I speak about. So it's about understanding, and typically you will, depending on your own product or service, you'll lean heavier on the customer facing stuff or the partner facing stuff. Typically, where this breaks down is where you're reliant on personal introductions and the team within the partner don't understand your product or service. And this is where I say that thing about it's not common sense, it's experience. Often people can feel a bit like they don't want to teach people how to suck eggs. And they can be a bit nervous about sharing some of those basics with their partners around the right time to refer and really understanding it. And so it's that piece. It's typically it'll be around the positioning. And so you need to make sure that first of all your positioning resonates with your clients day to day. And then once you know that, understanding that, making sure that your partners can be that link. And it's about getting that positioning just right so that they know enough to position you right without them actually being the ones to sell you. And it's just getting that balance right so that they know enough to spark an interest to make the referral rather than sell you in. It's not like channel sales in IT, right, where they're physically reselling a product. Yeah. It's about giving your partners just enough knowledge to be able to position you correctly.
I think the thing that's very valuable for me you've said today is this whole business of reviewing, because actually what happens and anybody who here is from sort of marketing, creative, that kind of stuff, is sometimes things can get a bit friction. There can be a bit of friction where two partners are trying to work and the who kind of owns the client relationship or what that balance of power is and how that works, who's supposed to be communicating what with the client, sometimes can get a bit messy. and partners can end up getting a bit niggly with each other because they feel like they're sort of treading on each other's toes. And actually what you said about reviews is the way to make sure you catch any of those friction problems and deal with them.
Absolutely, and expectations. So in some partnerships it's very obvious because you're a lead on, but where it's much more integrated. So I'm going to use Holly as an example just because I can see her and it's an easy one. Website. Holly might be working with a copywriter at the same time as she's building a website. Sure. And again, in the creative space in general, it tends to be much more integrated. And so I would absolutely set out at the start who owns the client. If it is joint ownership, still, if you do each own that client now, still set out where those communications, who's responsible for doing what, because just don't put, yeah, we all know the thing about never assuming, right? So it rings true in partnerships more than ever. Yeah, and if you're in partnerships where that is an issue, right, the best time to set expectations is right at the very start. But if you're in partnerships now and you feel that there's those niggles, it's never too late to go back and reset and go, I want to make the most of this partnership. Look, I think let's get some stuff in place so that we can really kick it on this year. So it's never too late to go back and put those kind of relay the foundations, as it were.
Awesome, thank you.
Rondi, I think your hand was up first.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I've got hopeless Wi-Fi, so apologies for camera off. Question, and I think it's part of the value proposition, but we have some sticky situations sometimes with mutual referrals. So sometimes it's difficult for us to refer others in, or we don't have a market. It's more one way, and just sort of your thoughts, comments on that.
So, one of my favourite subjects, I don't believe in cross-referral relationships. Now, that's not me saying you shouldn't cross-refer, because we should all refer whenever we can. But in most instances, your ideal partner for referring you is not going to be the other way around, as you mentioned, Rondi, right? And so all too often, where there's these relationships that are set up in this joint way, one party ends up resenting the other because they're not passing as many referrals. And this is where the partner value proposition is so important. And it's where having a commercial relationship can help as well. Because then the people that are referring you in, Rondi, they kind of get that they're not going to get as many referrals from you, but that's fine because their reason for referring you isn't getting referrals back the other way. It's because of this thing that you do that enhances what they do. So there are instances where it is crossed, but in general, I'm not a fan of them because typically they end up with one party feeling a bit disgruntled the other way. So and even where there isn't even where there is a chance of it being even, I would still set the relationship up as two separate referral arrangements in their own right, because anything could happen with one party that means they're just not as on the ball with it. And so I'm a fan of referring full stop, but not in the cross referrals being the sole basis of relationship.
Perfect. Great session. Thanks, Dave.
No worries. Thanks, Rondi. Sarah.
Hello. Yeah, thank you. Great session. Are you able to give kind of ballpark figures of what commission typically works well? And particularly, you talk about the lifetime value piece, which is interesting, but I mean, that's quite hard to manage. Or maybe it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Okay. So I can give things to think about. And I think Megan's going to drop, if she hasn't already, she's going to drop a link into the chat with a video that covers all of this stuff. But things to think about if you're going to do it is, I've had referral arrangements where I've got 50% commission before, but that's because it was a software. It was a piece of software and it was just in a machine and they were established bit of software. So they were happy to just pay that out and that's fine. Now that isn't going to work that isn't going to work for the majority of us who are in the service business because it just doesn't. There are only two things that are really important in terms of how you position your commission. Number one is that you feel comfortable with it, that you're not resenting paying a partner commission because that's no good. The second one is that your partner feels not necessarily inspired, but at the very least doesn't feel insulted by it, that they feel it's fair. Both parties have to feel it's fair. Otherwise it's not doing its job. Now within that, is your margins, is your work effort that you put in, is how much effort the partner's putting in. Are they just providing you any and everything on a lead, or are they actually, there's all sorts of variables that come into that. It's rare you see something below 10%. In a service-based business, 10% seems to be pretty standard, if I'm honest. But it really does vary. It really does vary, and it varies partner to partner. The lifetime value thing, it's where a CRM or a spreadsheet comes in of just tracking your source and how much they're paying. If you're not comfortable with lifetime value, or you think, there could be some limits on it. I know people that do for the first year or the first projects. I know people that do lifetime value, but it's a lower percentage after 12 months or for subsequent projects. Or as I said, you can do it on kind of while they're an active partner. Now, active partner is something you've then got to decide again what that means. Is it number of leads passed? Is it number of qualified leads or business passed? What having something like that in place does, though, is it allows you to be in control of it. So someone might not be passing any more leads, but you always knew that they were going to have this big bunch, and you've still got a good relationship with them, and you can choose to keep paying them if you want. But by putting the caveats in place, it allows you to retain a bit of extra control. I hope that helped in some way, but it's such there isn't a right or wrong answer for that one, other than both parties need to think that it's fair. That's it. That's out. Yeah. Karen.
Hi, Dave. Just echoing what everyone else has said. Great presentation. So really good. I just my only question is, in terms of living in a digital world that we live in now, do you feel like the relationships that you've nurtured or you've seen your clients nurture as strong online as they are face to face? I mean, I do quite a lot of face to face networking and have face to face partnerships. I'm keen to move that to an online model, but I just love to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Look, you're never gonna hear me say that face to face isn't best, right? Because I come from a membership background. I ran loads of events. I love the energy that you get in a face to face environment. Now, does that mean that you can't build really successful partnerships without face to face? No, of course not, Karen. So I think it's absolutely available to move it into a digital space. One of my clients is he's an English guy based in Brazil, and most of his clients are in Australia and partners are in Australia. So everything's done online. So so in terms of the partner outreach stuff, again, yes, that's easier to do when you're out networking, you're building. And I think, and if you're actively looking to grow your partners, then networking for partners, I always suggest to people, is an awesome networking strategy rather than networking for clients, network for partners. But yes, I've seen people do it well, and there's all sorts of kind of matchmaking software bits of kit out there now for people that do want to kind of shortcut some of this process. I'm a bit dubious on some of those because the partner value proposition piece doesn't come into it as much. You're moving maybe a bit more into affiliate territory, but yeah, I'm a big fan of face to face. But if we're talking about global reach or just scale of outreach, I think it is absolutely doable. We've maybe just got to try a little bit harder, Karen, I suppose.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Adam.
Yeah, hi Dave. Hi everyone. Thanks very much for this. Super helpful. I noticed you sort of quickly moved over different styles that came up on your slide at one point.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know whether that was just timing from your side, but were you talking about personality profiling, different approaches, adapting style? Was that where you were heading?
Oh, no, I was. No, I wasn't. I was talking about the mix of kind of functional, kind of transactional, like this is what's happening, mixed with the build a relationship piece. But absolutely, I mean, if you're looking to build relationships, then the personality profiling piece, and on that, even right back to the discovery bit. Obviously, I kind of whistle stopped it today, but part of the key thing when you're looking for ideal partners is the shared values. And understanding that piece. Now, that doesn't mean you have the same personality profiles and styles, but you do want to have some shared values in place there. And so yes, absolutely, you would go into more detail on that type of things, Adam. But No, not for. I wasn't about to go into personality profile. It's quite hard getting enough in 40 minutes as it is without doing.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, but absolutely, you would do, Adam. And also, it's recognizing, and this comes into the support for teams. And so I'm aware we're getting towards end. So thank you, people that have having to dash off, and feel free to stick around. I'm happy for those of you that kind of want to ask questions. I will be here. When we're talking about the support you provide your partners' teams, again, that really plays into that some people will want more detail, others won't, and they'll just get it. And so really understanding that you're offering, providing the level of support for all the different people that are going to be having touch points with the prospects is a really important thing to do. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
No worries at all. Any more for any more? No, great. Well, that means it's 12:59. I'm going to finish bang on within the hour. I think I said 12:50, yeah, 5 before, but we're gonna get in within that hour. Look, thank you everyone for your time. On the links that Megan sent out, for those of you I'm not connected with, I'm sure I probably will be, but yeah, we'd love to connect. If anyone wants to book some time in with me to discuss this stuff in person, that would be great. Adam, I'm sure our paths are going to cross in person fairly soon over at the Foundry. Other Adam, it's good to see you for the first time in a long while. David, Tom, Martin, Megan, Joe, thank you all ever so much. And yeah, look forward to speaking to you all soon. Cheers, guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Dave. Bye for now.